Hi, I'm Cole, and I'm going to tell you about the most frightening creature on planet Earth. People tell you stories about murderers or cryptids, like the Hook, Mothman, or Jersey Devil. Things that keep you up at night. But those obviously aren't real. My story is about the most terrifying beast in the world, who has his next prey in sight. And he is very real.
The destructive, demolishing, human wrecking ball of Artur Beterbiev.
They call him Artur Beterbiev. This unrelenting specimen weighs 175 pounds on paper. I know, not that big, right? But in reality, his punches feel like they're coming from a creature much larger. 19 foes have reluctantly stood across from him, and every single one of them was sent home early. The legend goes, he was originally born in Russia, but the first sighting happened thousands of miles away in Canada. At first, no one really knew about him, or cared. That makes sense, because with him being in the north, it's the perfect atmosphere to stay unnoticed and under the radar. But then, he kept taking victims, and eventually, people noticed. Once that occurred, they started to come to him. And what happened is, they faced the same result as the last. You'd think they would stop challenging him, but each one thought they would be different than the ones before. Definition of insanity, am I right? His destruction has earned him 3 of the 4 belts in the light heavyweight division. Seems like the next victim is former super middleweight world champion, Callum Smith. Now you're probably thinking, what does this guy think he's got that he's willing to take on Beterbiev? Smith has only been defeated once in his 30-fight pro career, and that was to the hands of the current undisputed champion at 168 and pound-for-pound mainstay, Canelo Alvarez. He also has an argument to being his toughest fight to date. There is only one other man on Beterbiev's resume that might have been tougher. That was when he fought the undefeated world champion, Alexander Vostok, in 2019. But here's the difference. That version of Beterbiev was 4 years younger and 2 years older than his opponent. The one today is 38 and 5 years older than Smith. Now that could be looked at as a weakness. They do say Father Time is undefeated, but it didn't matter for the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, or Yeti, so why would it matter now? When you go through all the notable names at this weight in the last few years, Beterbiev has either decimated them or they didn't belong in the ring with him. Smith has to prove he belongs on January 13th and has to make the walk that 19 men have regretted making. Gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. The Brit hypothetically has the power that is needed to gain Beterbiev's respect, but so did Anthony Yarde, who people also thought carried the same attribute. And despite landing clean, heavy shots, Yarde was no different than the other 18 foes that fell to Beterbiev. However, Smith has been the distance with other power punchers, and he stands about 4 inches above Beterbiev, which could play a huge factor in this fight. But whether it was tall guys, short guys, power punchers, slick boxers, younger, older, none of it mattered when it came to Beterbiev. But here we go again. This fight is more than likely going to turn out the way people thought the Joe Smith Jr. battle was going to. A slugfest in the center of the ring until one man couldn't take it any longer. And to this point, every single man that has been in that situation with Beterbiev doesn't make it to the final bell. You start to feel bad for them, right? He is the only world champ in the entire sport who can lay claim to that statement. That's why the legend of Artur Beterbiev isn't a mythological one. It's just the terrifying reality.